Hello and welcome, Gemini, to your August 2023 horoscope. My name is Jeff Smith. I am going to be your astrological guide through the month of August, giving you the astrological forecast on what is going on, the current energies that are at play, the different idiosyncrasies of the universe working towards your favor. We're going to do a little different style here, but I think it's going to be advantageous for everybody, okay? So, first of all, what I want you to do is go ahead and pay attention to your chart here. And what I want to point out first is all the retrogrades that are taking place. Now, at the end of August, we are going to have 8 planets and luminaries retrograde. I shouldn't say luminaries because there's no luminaries that are going retrograde, but planets retrograde, 8 of them at the end of the month. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the phenomenon of retrograde and exactly what it entails, all right? When a planet is moving forward, it's putting its best effort. It's actually shining its energy. It's emitting the right forward momentum energy. When it goes retrograde, when its apparent motion from the Earth looks like it's going backwards, and it's really not. It's the Earth syncing up to the way the solar system is running. I'll do a totally different video on retrograde later on because it's something that you need to understand. So we're going to do that this month because of so many planets going retrograde. All right. So as you can see, the little R's here next to these planets means retrograde. Kind of looks like the medical symbol, from a pharmacy. But this actually means retrograde in astrology. So let's start with the biggest one, Pluto. Pluto is more about getting perspective. It's taking your power back. When Pluto is retrograde, and it's going to be bouncing out of your 8th house in and out for quite a while now. And it's square the nodes that are also retrograde. And I count the north node more than the south in astrology because it's part of your destiny. What are you working on? You know what I mean? So Pluto is asking you to get perspective during this retrograde time. Now, then we're going to focus on your 10th house. So 10th house activities, let's talk about 8th. This could be money, sex, spirituality, that kind of thing, being practical about it. It's actually having you take a practical approach towards your spirituality. That's what Pluto retrograde does. So let's move on to the 10th house. The 10th house is about public appearance, career, job, that kind of thing. All right. And we have Saturn, which is very weak in Pisces, and it's retrograde. So we've got this frustration here that, we don't have the right job. Maybe you're in kind of like a limbo state of jobs. And then we've got Neptune in its own sign, which is very powerful. However, it's retrograde. So you've got this illusion that you feel like you need to stay where you're at. There might be frustration in having to actually do that, And then we move on to the 11th house. We've got Chiron, the wounded healer, and the north node, your destiny, in the 11th house of groups, friends, group activities, that kind of thing. It also is the axis of giving and receiving love. The 11th and the 5th houses, the way I was taught in astrology, is giving and receiving love. Okay? Then we look at Venus retrograde in your 3rd house of communication. So that may be difficult also. You know what I mean? So we're going to, you see how this kind of lines up. There's some areas in your life that are just kind of on review. This is getting back to the drawing board and starting over. How can I look at this from a different perspective? Can I release this frustration? Is it my own delusions that are making me believe things about my career and so on and so forth? So I wanted to point that out. Now, for August, Gemini, we have 2 full moons this month, one at the beginning, one at the end. And then we have, did I say full moons? Yeah, 2 full moons at the beginning of the month. And that's going to be taking place in your 9th and your 10th house. So education, travel, career, long trips, that's all going to be highlighted for the month of August. And your new moon is going to be happening in the 3rd house of Leo. So that's going to be communicating. So let's get the general idea of how the month is going to go. The sun rules how we feel. And when it's in the fire sign, it's feeling pretty good. So we're going to be working on communication, lots of short trips, having fun, doing what you want, speaking to the universe and telling it exactly what you want. So the sun's going to travel from now all the way up into this portion of your chart. It's going to move into the house, the home portion of your chart. So some of you Geminis may be thinking about moving, maybe redecorating, cleaning your house. That'll happen towards the middle of the month. Getting things tight, getting things done, okay? But the full moon at the beginning of the month is happening in your ninth house. You could be doing some traveling there. It's getting in touch with the universe, different philosophies. It's right there with Pluto. Could be very volatile for you. It's happening in the full moon is happening in Aquarius. It's an air sign. So it's a harmonious aspect. Okay. So remember that. Anytime, Gemini, that other lunations, new moons and full moons, happen in a fellow air sign, they're going to be harmonious. Okay. So, with that being said, what we're going to do next, and we're going to touch on the full moons and the new moons, so don't worry about that. But I added a new feature. So, what I'm going to show you now, where'd it go? This is the calendar I write out for each month in preparation for doing astrology horoscopes for all 12 signs. So I write out all the major aspects, the sun, all the planets' movements, the full and new moons. I also put in the travel of the moon. The moon travels through a sign very fast. It usually takes 2.5 days, 2.5 days to travel through a sign. So you'll see that. And that gives us a general idea of where the moon is, how it feels. Moon's about emotions for us, okay? Also Mercury, so we're going to pay attention to a lot of Mercury aspects for you. But I want you also to pay attention. So this is going to be a new feature. Instead of just talking about it, I'm going to have like a visual representation instead of you just looking at a wheel. You know what I mean? I mean, we can bounce back and forth to that, but I think looking at the calendar is a little bit more efficient. So let me know in the comments. All right. So last month, all the lunations, when I say lunations, that's full moon and new moons, they took place on Monday. And that worked out great for me in my meditation class. However, this month, they're happening on Wednesdays. So I'm dubbing all Wednesdays in August wonky Wednesdays, because this is when the energy shifts. There's huge energy shifts, not only with the new and full moons happening on Wednesdays, but also big planetary changes and aspects. So let's begin, okay? So first of all, we've got the full moon in Aquarius. That's at 9 degrees if you wanted to check your chart. And that is harmonious to you. So that could be a good time, like Mars trine Jupiter, good stuff, good movement. All right. And then we move on to now the weekends in August, the Saturdays and Sundays, have good energy to them. So, we've got a give and take here. We have good weekends to kind of wind down and clear our minds out. And then as soon as we get towards the middle of the week, all hell breaks loose. All right. So this weekend, the sun and moon made a great harmonious aspect on Saturday. Sun squared Jupiter. It's kind of, feeling a little stuck. And then we start the week. Okay, now let's get to the second Wednesday. Moon moves into your sign. Okay, it's for Wednesday and Thursday. Good time for you. Also a good time for you, your planetary ruler Mercury. Good time to make things happen. Get plans going. However, Mars is going to be square in, I would call it tension between Uranus, the planet of shakeups. So there's going to be some shakeups in the news around that time. Wednesdays are going to be huge for world events. Okay, so pay attention to that. So we have the sun making a sextile to the moon on Thursday, with the moon being in your sign. Very good energy there. Then it moves into Cancer. The moon makes a good harmonious aspect to Saturn. And then I would say the best weekend of the month would be the 12th, the 13th, okay, even the 14th. So we've got that energy at play for the weekend. And then Sunday on the 13th, the sun makes a great aspect to Venus, even though it's retrograde. So communication for you is going to be key. Remember, the traveling sun from now until the end of the month, is going to be moving out of your third house of communication. So we're ending a cycle here, and we're moving into the fourth house of home and uh, security. Okay. So here we go, ramping up for another crazy Wednesday. On the 15th, we have the Sun square Uranus. More news coming out. Okay. Everything's ramping up. Then we have the new moon in Leo. That's going to be taking place at 23 degrees in your chart, in your third house. And it's also, then we have Mars trine Uranus. Remember, the Wednesday before, we had Mars square Uranus. So we've got some tension, and then things balance out. This is going to be a good time for you to communicate what you need to communicate. All right. And then, Thursday seems a little iffy. The moon is, still in Leo, and it's opposite Saturn. It's kind of frustrating energy, but then things move and go smooth for the weekend. Mars makes a conjunction with the moon. So we're feeling good. We're ready to take action. The moon moves into Libra on the 19th. So that's good balanced energy. And it also makes a beautiful sextile to Venus on the 20th. Then all hell breaks loose for this week. Hang in there, Gemini. You still got some time. The moon moves into Scorpio. Then we have your ruler, Mercury, making a beautiful trine to Pluto, getting some perspective, talking about it, getting plans going. Then we got some more world events happening here. We got Mars opposite Neptune. That's literally pulling the veil off of things. And then here we go, another fourth wonky Wednesday. The sun is moving into Virgo. So we're moving out of Leo season into Virgo season. Okay. Then your ruler is going retrograde. Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 23rd all the way to September 14th. So if you've got any communication to get done, I would say get it done by this new moon. All right. You still got some time, even up to the day before. However, I'd do it sooner than later, Gemini. Okay. So that's going to be retrograde. That's planet 7. All right. Then we have the moon moving into Sagittarius the next day after that. Mars making a trine to Pluto. So very good energy there. Beautiful Friday. Moon makes a trine to Venus. Feeling really good. And then the moon moves into Sirius Capricorn. Of course it does, because this is when things get a little off balance. Speaking of balance, Mars, the planet of action, moves into Libra on the 27th. That's a Sunday. And the sun also opposes Saturn because now it's going to be in your home sector. So I would say there's going to be making a balance between work and home really work for you towards the end of the month. All right. So make those plans early in the month, Gemini. And then we have planet 8 going retrograde. Uranus, the planet of shakeups and sudden situations, is going retrograde. It's going retrograde from the 28th all the way to January 27th. So these shakeups will be mild, but there's a big push before for justice. You're going to see a lot of stuff transpire on the world stage. Then we move up to the full moon on the 30th. That's in Pisces, and that's going to be taking place in 7 degrees Pisces, and that is actually going to be happening in your chart on the 10th. So now we've got, again, another push and pull between work and home for you, Gemini. So this is a good time to release any emotional baggage you've been carrying about work and home, and stop focusing on your life being imbalanced and start focusing on balance, So that's the month for August. Nice, short, and sweet. It's going to be crazy, but make sure that you get your ducks in a row, Gemini, because your ruler is going to be going retrograde. And that's not a time for action. That's a time for revisiting the drawing board. All right, Gemini, you have a great month, and I will see you in September.